Hello, this is Deborah Richards from Maddisons Residential. Well, I spend a lot of my time dealing with local solicitors, often discussing chains and trying to get things over the line to exchange and not. And one solicitor I work with a lot is Chris Roberts at Burtons Solicitors in Pembury. Chris and I have been talking a lot lately in a number of deals we've got going on, but how we're finding the market generally. And we thought you might like to hear our thoughts on this. So last Saturday we recorded a nice gentle chatter. We talk about how we're finding the market, what we think will be the economic outlook post the pandemic easing, changes we think to our respective industries as a result of this, and how we've adapted to the working environment. We hope you enjoy the interview. It's myself, my husband James, who heads up our Lettings and Land and New Homes division, and Chris from Burtons.
Right, so on to the first point perhaps. We should be talking about our respective takes of the market. Obviously, we both deal with the property market, and as the news tends to be towards negative, do you think there's any truth in that? Do you think the market is going to have a massive downturn or not?
We certainly think not. No big downturn at all. I think memories are so short, and of course the media for much of 2018 and 2019 was threatening a 30% crash because of Brexit. And if you think what happened the minute that Boris won so convincingly in December, and we knew we were definitely leaving the EU, the market bounced massively. So we never saw a drop. Prices plateaued really over that Brexit period, and then they bounced and rose quite heavily in January and February. So the media just always will look for the glass half empty story and either misrepresent or actually blatantly incorrectly report actually on some of them. I mean,
embellish. I think you see statistics coming out and they're perhaps quarterly statistics, and the media then take it that's an annualized statistic, so times it by 4, whereas actually the figure actually only represents the next 3 months, not the 9 months beyond that. And
3 months of lockdown, when of course certain industries, bars, shops, restaurants, airlines, hotels, sports venues, theatres, they've been massively hit. Of course the economy is down while we're in lockdown because you cannot physically spend money for many of those industries. But of course the minute lockdown lifts, we feel that the economy will bounce quite quickly because the average person on the street is feeling quite wealthy. And the biggest thing, as you know, Chris, that drives the property market is consumer confidence. So
indeed.
Yeah, we think there'll be increased demand. You know, very sadly, there will be a lot more deaths. There'll be, people needing to sell for that. There'll be divorces, baby booms.
People looking to relocate.
Yeah,
and
London.
Neither of us has shut up shop, have we? I mean, you at Burtons, us at Maddisons, we've been busy keeping the deals that we had before lockdown ongoing. We've completed on some, we've exchanged on others. So people are still looking to get on with their lives.
Indeed, but I certainly found that from our perspective, we've probably lost 1 or 2% of transactions. The number is incredibly low. There have been several transactions placed on hold, but the buyers are saying that they would like to proceed if possible. They just want to make sure that they will have a job at the end of it, particularly those in the retail sector and entertainment industries. Those are contractors more particularly. It's very uncertain times for them. But yeah, the certain clients I have at the moment, they said that we would love to proceed still. I just want to make sure that in a couple of months' time, after lockdown's lifted, that the industry is going to recover as we're predicting. And as you say, consumer confidence is key. And if everyone has that attitude, we think it's going to be okay in a few months' time. The market should rebound quite strongly.
Yeah, we've only found that we've lost two deals, which were always the ones that we probably thought would collapse anyway. They were the buyers who you were kind of holding your breath for. And actually, I think one of those is a pause, not a complete withdrawal. I think she will buy it once she knows her job is safe. And then we had one from an opportunistic buyer who sought a big price reduction, and the sellers just said no. So, the reality is, unless something's a forced sale, a seller just won't accept a lower price. They'll just wait until the market returns, and then they'll sell before. And interestingly, we've relaunched that property, and it's gone crazy, hasn't it?
Really busy.
Masses of people who want to view it. So
brilliant.
Transaction levels down, but prices up by 5% by the end of the year is what we're predicting. So our outlook is positive, definitely.
Very positive.
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be some people who want to be a bit cheeky and try and get a deal. You mentioned just then about a buyer trying to be optimistic and see a big price reduction. We actually had the same thing happen yesterday regarding a plot of land. They wanted a 20% price reduction, but with no justification behind it. Simply said because the market's going to crash.
Yes, yeah. That's the same reason we were given. Yeah.
As we were discussing before, yeah, a figure of 30% has been plucked out of the air, much like with the Brexit vote, which didn't materialise. I think at the moment, all the while there's no disparity between buyers and sellers. Sellers want to sell, buyers want to buy. There's no reason for there to be a price reduction. The only caveat to that is if the government withdraw the support and lenders withdraw repayment holidays, that's where there could be an issue, and you'll have people forced to sell, which would be a driver of prices down. I think it would be rather foolish of the government and lenders to withdraw support at this stage, though, because it's very much like they kick the can down the road, but only one kick. It doesn't really achieve anything. If you're going to put in support, it has to be long term, and you have to see it through. If borrowing is costing the government, say, 10 billion a month, I think the figure was, it would make no sense to do it for 3 months, stop, let the economy tank, and then find you've got an even bigger bill to pick up further down the line. So, like yourself, I think that if anything, the price will end up going up towards the end of the year rather than down.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. They've deliberately done the measures they've done to keep the money in the economy. So it's a very, very different financial picture to 2008, which was about a retraction of money supply and a financial system that was just riddled with fraud.
And in 2008, you saw banks recalling loans as well as not lending anything. They're actually recalling in loans. And that's not a scenario that we're in now.
Indeed.
In fact, we're seeing the lending market. We've seen data out in the last 48, 72 hours about, banks bringing out new products, new rates, and among some of the mortgage lenders that we've been speaking to, or mortgage brokers, that they too are positive. They've seen more inquiries coming through. So, across the industry, from yourself to ourselves to the brokers, the various parts of the chain in the property are all seeing good news.
Definitely. I have to agree. I mean, the way I talked to Deborah earlier about brokers, for example, products were pulled initially because of the mortgage holidays. They had to simply process the sheer volume of applications. But already we've seen more products come back to the market. And where the broker activity had dropped during April, it's now started to tick up again now. And the brokers are quite confident in the quality of the rates that are out there. There's some good products out there which reflect the market as it was back in January and February, which is where it was on a nice hot burn, I think.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
With virtual valuations, are you conducting those now, or is it something you're looking to?
Yes, we've done a few now. They're good fun, actually. The reality is, when you're a local agent, you know the area so well. So if someone says, I live on Somerset Road or, All Saints Road or wherever it might be, you know exactly what that road is like. You kind of want to know which side of the road do they live on. Google Earth will give you a lot then about orientations of gardens. And then we've done ones where they've either done a live kind of FaceTime call or WhatsApp video call, or they've sent me a video, and then I followed that up. And I would before I did them, I thought, I'll probably give them like a band price. It's be this and this. I'll have to check the house before I can. But actually, having done a few, I don't know why I ever went out properly before, because actually you can do it all remotely. It gives you everything you need. You can see the condition of the property, the condition of how they've kept it. You can talk through the changes they've made, why they're selling, the area. So yeah, we've done quite a few and they've been really well received, actually.
Do the sellers generally talk to you as they're doing the video then, say about what they've done and why they've done it?
Yeah, a variety, either that or a chat beforehand and then send me a video, and then we follow it up. We use this great system which provides a whole online marketing report. We've done that for a long time anyway, so we don't need to really physically give them anything. So yeah, it's and viewings as well. We've done some viewings where we've either done it we've had a few virtual viewings made, so walk around tours on empty properties. And then we've done others where we'll do a Zoom call like this and we'll say, right, here's the floor plan. So you're going in there and turn left for this room and I'll show you what that room looks like and nice features. We've got a rental property where some prospective tenants said they would take it on they didn't need to see it. No. They said, no, we'll take it. So
the landlord did a video on that one. And so where you've been using that in the rental process. Yeah, and we've now two people say they take it on the strength of the video because they've got the floor plan. We've obviously had additional photographs taken as part and parcel. So we've been able to send them all the photographs rather than as simply used on the portals and for the marketing. And people for the rental certainly have been prepared to take it on the strength of that.
Wow. I had it in my head that what people would be doing would be driving up to a property with a drone and throwing it out the window and trying to fly through the house. You haven't tried doing that then yet?
We've not had that yet, but hey, that's a good idea. Yeah, no, not yet. No, so yeah, they're fine actually. I mean, I think it would be difficult to sell a house, although we do know there's a house in Tunbridge Wells. I don't want to name the agent, but I will give him a call. It went to market on the 1st of April. It is now showing as under offer. So within lockdown, they have sold that house. It's a very nice house, very fine, good house, good address. Incredible, really. So I think, I think when a buyer is in a really active search, I mean, we'd have probably felt this actually. We'd have probably bought this place without actually coming around to see it, I think.
I think so. We knew because we knew what our plans were. And of course, every buyer is individual. So they've got a good idea of what they want to do to a property. And as we've had the discussion before, it's the location. So, if they see the potential within the property, at least they can, more than anything, they can cross it off their list. And if they can sit in the comfort of their home, and as we're doing with this call, record it. So it needn't have both husband and wife or, partners together. They can record it and then go back and keep reviewing it and think, actually, yes, okay, let's go down and see the property, or no, that one's off the list and let's go and look at another one.
Well, I can imagine as well that generally people view a property once or maybe twice before making an offer. And then they may do a final check before exchange of contracts just to measure up and get a final feel for it. But if you're doing virtual viewings and you've got a video available, somebody can view that same property in detail time and time again to make sure it truly is the right decision for them. So do you think that moving forward you'll keep doing these videos as a supplementary tool?
Definitely. I mean, there was a tenant we sent the virtual viewing of one of our properties to. And she came straight back and said, no, it's a bit smaller than I thought it would be. What a fabulous lack of a waste of time. I mean, normally we drive all the way there. There'd be a bit of chat. You're both polite. You go through the motions, and actually, quite.
She was going to be coming down from Suffolk, so I mean, it would have been a long journey. I'm sure she would have, and will still view obviously more than one property in a day, but at least this has saved her an hour of the day that she does come down from Suffolk, knowing that property isn't for her.
But yeah, we're definitely one of the issues with virtual viewings has been that Rightmove have not had a facility to show them on their portal, and it's something the agents have been calling for about 3 years. But this scenario has driven them at last to have a video tab, and it was just like when they launched floor plan tab. The minute they did that, I think now 97% of sales listings have a floor plan. So I can see that really happening now, and we're kind of just thinking about, well, what are the different ways that we'll do that virtual viewing. So yeah, you'll have to watch this space on this one, because we've got some quite exciting thoughts, and we're almost thinking of saying to people, you can't come and do an actual viewing until you've confirmed that you've seen the virtual viewing and that it's a definite contender, because a viewing is just an enormous responsibility and undertaking for the seller. They've got to clear up, tidy up, get the kids out, get the dogs out, make it all look show ready. And actually, if we can take away a load of that stress by doing a virtual viewing, then that's brilliant for our clients. So we're certainly going to, this is a good thing that's happened from this situation, is with the technology is now there, Rightmove's ability to deal with it is there, and buyers and sellers have got their heads around the fact.
I think we've all had experience, because we've been using this type of medium to connect with our families, with our friends, to do social, there's beers and stuff happening on Friday evenings and weekends. People are now very much used to this. And I think therefore going forward, when we say we would like to give you a virtual viewing as a first stop, there'll be less resistance from people, because they will have been using this system for, for the last however many weeks it may be by the time we come out of the lockdown.
Indeed, we're certainly forced some physical change on people, those who didn't embrace these sorts of meetings, or even, say, smartphones, for example. Some people just were against them. And generally it was the older population, but they've been forced to change due to measures of shielding or just social restrictions. And they realise it's not scary, it's actually a very beneficial tool, and that can be then transposed into other areas of your life, such as viewing a house, for example.
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
How have you found it with
how
sort
you
of contracts and this sort of thing?
In terms of working remotely, we've seen little change because we've always been geared up to work remotely and paperlessly. Burtons, we've always been quite forward thinking in that regard, I certainly think so. So all we've had to do is literally up my desk, move it home, and set up. In terms of the physical exchange of contracts, there is one person always working in the office still. So we just relay certain information. So a physical contract, you have to write on the exchange date and the completion date. I could then ask that person to do it, send it off to the other side. Once it's received in, they scan it onto the system. So again, I can then view it from home. We are able to check clients' IDs remotely. It's something we always did do. We still prefer meeting the clients. It's just nicer. It's nice to put a face to name and for them to do likewise to us. And moving forward, we certainly won't stop doing that or trying to detract from that personal service. But we also have a great appreciation for people that aren't necessarily as mobile, can't get to the office with ID. So there's always ways we can work around that. And I think these sorts of meetings moving forward will form a bigger part of our business. It also means we expand our demographic and geographic. We can act for anyone anywhere around the country. And even more so now we're using this technology because I can still see your face if you're in Scotland. I can check that against your ID whilst having a certified copy from your mortgage broker. You haven't got to worry about coming to the office or even to a local solicitor to have it counter certified. So I think that there's some very positive takes from this pandemic. I mean, I know it's a great tragedy across the board for the economy and many people's healths and those that we unfortunately lost as well. But you also find the greatest change for mankind comes from times of tragedy.
Yes.
And looking forward, we may well find that our carbon emissions come down because people are working from home more often rather than traveling to the office. There's a better work-life balance perhaps because they haven't got to commute constantly. They can work from home a couple of days a week. There could be some very positive environmental benefits as well as our own time.
So, we've seen that, I think, on the news actually, people being interviewed saying, actually, I no longer now need to fly to Switzerland or to New York for these meetings. We can just do a Zoom call and everybody can join on. So, I think
this is my first time using Zoom, like I said before, and we use a different software called Horizon. It's always like telephone software. So now people phone the office and it goes straight to us.
It is incredible, really, how we got introduced to Zoom when we were redesigning our website. So actually, when then it sort of said people started saying to us this thing called Zoom, we were kind of like okay with it. Although we'd never set the meetings up, but we knew how it worked. But what's lovely is I actually feel on a personal level, I have more engagement and involvement now with my family than I had before. I don't mean my immediate family, but I mean my mum. So I do mean my mum, my dad, my sister, who both live over in Hertfordshire. And it's great, we're all, so I went to them and said, look, I'm going to do a Zoom call, and they were kind of like, oh my gosh, what on earth's that? And it's like, well, look, I'm not going to see you unless we do this. So they're now on it, and every Sunday at 4:00 we have this Zoom call. So it's lovely that it's so interesting how we've become disconnected in some ways, but more connected in other ways, which because we have more time, don't we? A lot more time. Life just feels a bit calmer.
I've managed to connect my 80-year-old father with his 84-year-old sister via Zoom, so they can see one another, because she lives down in Exeter, he lives up here in Tunbridge Wells.
Oh, that's lovely.
They're able to see one another. Sadly, we haven't got the middle child, if you like, my 82-year-old uncle. He's still very much a technophobe. So
okay, there's still a few months I've got shielding for them. We can get them on board, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But how have you found generally the whole legal side? Because normally, when you're gearing up to exchange, the solicitors have basically got to have agreement from their client. But we feel now there's this kind of other person who's got to agree to it called the solicitor. And the solicitor might put their foot down and just go, no, I'm not exchanging at the moment because of I mean, how have you found working in such a confusing but evolving environment, really, I suppose, in terms of whether people can move or not?
The biggest problem that we found are firms that haven't been willing to adapt. Certainly won't name any names. There's been some firms out there who have furloughed multiple staff, which means they simply cannot facilitate those transactions that are still ongoing. And when it comes to exchanging contracts and agreeing completion dates, they are simply refusing to agree a completion date due to the perceived risk on their client not being able to move. Now, we can't detract from the fact there is a risk. If lockdown measures are pushed further ahead, then removal companies simply can't operate, therefore the completion may fail. But we have to also rely on people's good nature. People generally don't want to go out to hurt each other. They want to move and not to disrupt the other people in the chain. So if there was to be extension of lockdown measures, we have to rely on people's good grace to say, let's change the completion date and push it to beyond lockdown. We did suggest COVID-19 clauses in contracts to give a more legal bearing on that. So if there was to be government intervention, it would automatically push the completion date back by X number of days or weeks, subject to final agreement between the parties. We found most firms wouldn't agree to those sorts of clauses because of the uncertainty, even though the clause was trying to create some degree of certainty where there was so little already. The most efficient way of proceeding at this time is simultaneous exchange and completion. If clients are able to do it, and it is more stressful in a normal circumstance, it would be very stressful. In these circumstances, probably less so, because you can find out simply who is able to move on that date. You approach your removal company and liaise with your estate agent to try and see if that date's feasible. Double check it first thing on the day in the morning, and hopefully you can get it across the line. Because people are furloughed or working from home, people are able to be contacted more efficiently in the mornings than we have historically seen. So the simultaneous exchange completion can go through that a little bit quicker, whereas normally it could be a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in summary, it's perfectly possible to exchange and complete during the course of this lockdown. You'll find in your business as well that, yes, transaction numbers are down, but they're still going across the line. It just takes all parties working together to achieve that. Of course, the longer the chain, the more difficult that becomes. And you want to make sure you're working with firms, agents, brokers, and solicitors who are willing to take steps for their clients to get them across the line, rather than putting up a blanket wall of, well, we couldn't possibly do it because of lockdown.
Yes, I know. Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
So often the key is communication, isn't it? Open communication.
Yeah.
People willing to talk, and there's going to be some give and take on it all. But as long as all parties are talking, you can get it sorted out.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what prevents people from withdrawing in a state of panic or just getting too fed up, because there are people that started a transaction in January or February, who were desperate to move in April. They had their heart set on the Easter holidays, for example, and now that's been taken away from them, and they're saying actually may not be till June or July. People don't want to wait that long, living out of boxes half packed. But if we all communicate and everyone appreciates that we're all in that same boat, we will get there. People's attitudes change and they do seem to relax a bit. It's those chains that communication is broken down at some point that people's stress levels start rising, and you get people threatening to withdraw from a transaction purely out of frustration.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got some agents who just we phone up for an update and their answer phone says, sorry, the offices are closed. We'll get back to you when lockdown has finished. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We're still very busy. Reassurances.
I spoke to a buyer yesterday in I think in Bedfordshire, and the agent had closed up. So her property's been on the market, but the agent's not there to take any calls if there are people registering interest. And she seems very pragmatic, actually. She's very calm, but equally frustrated. She's desperate to move down to Tunbridge Wells to be closer to family, but is literally in a position where she cannot do anything because the agent has just shut. So it has closed entirely, not even working from home.
In that example you gave, is she actually going to withdraw from that agent and go elsewhere?
No, funny enough, she thought before the situation, the agent was doing a good job, and I think because you're seeing so many other businesses who have also fully closed up, she's just accepted the situation, and as I say, was very, very calm and so pragmatic about it.
It's interesting because we're finding with our sellers that are still out there, we've had no one withdraw from the market during this. Actually, none of our sellers who hadn't found a buyer have withdrawn. They're still on the market, and we do masses of work with managing their internet listing. We change the photos around, we change the words around. We have different slots for premium listing, featured listing on Rightmove. We've had rainbows put above all our headline shots of our houses with a thank you in the bottom right hand corner of the NHS. So masses that we're doing to try and keep business levels good for our clients who do have a property to sell, and we are getting a lot of inquiries. So it's an interesting, at the moment, the general public is sat at home looking at their house, possibly thinking it's a bit too big or it's a bit too small or whatever. I'll have a good look on Rightmove, and we're getting really long conversations.
The click-through rates that we're getting have been going up over the last 2 weeks, actually. I think as people have had a longer period of time at home, they're now spending more time, they've got the sort of the work-life balance in check now, having worked from home, perhaps on top of the homeschooling. And so therefore they're spending a little bit more time on their own affairs. And, as I say, if they're thinking about moving, looking for properties or looking at reviewing their own home and what they should be doing to that. So we've seen good engagement.
Yeah, definitely. There is lots for an agent to do. We find we are very, very busy with looking after our existing clients, and we're speaking to them a lot, checking that they're okay, there's nothing they need. The agent's always been a bit of a hated member of the community, but at the moment, I think there feels like there's a lot more love around. Actually,
we've seen, and from a landlord's perspective, we've seen some fantastic gestures from landlords where. There are a couple of flats that we've got that have got nurses, and the landlord's given them a clean. They've used our cleaning company to go in and clean the flats, and it's just been more. It's just been lovely to see, actually, very heartening.
What are you doing at the NHS? Are you doing anything to sort
of proximity to Pembury and Tunbridge Wells?
Indeed, we're so close to Pembury Hospital, so we're certainly offering them, and other key workers 50% off wills.
Wow, brilliant.
And also, I think moving forward as well, there'll be discounts on their conveyancing.
Lovely. Yeah.
We haven't started on the exact percentage yet, but I think it's something we want to give something back to them, because a lot of people are making sacrifices. And I say, because there's so many in and around Pembury, it would be nice to sort of offer that to so many people.
Yeah,
so half price wills and reductions on the conveyancing, and then also we're there for people as well. Certainly in this time, people are worried about possibly catching coronavirus and have realised that they haven't really got their affairs in order. So people haven't made wills, they haven't got powers of attorney. Particularly business owners, for example, it's one often the last thing on their mind to have a power of attorney in place. So if they were incapacitated. Can their co-director, or do they have a co-director that can look after their affairs, or should they appoint someone? We're there to be able to put in place those services for them at this time, operating very much business as usual. We are also very close to the hospice in Pembury and conduct deathbed wills. It's obviously not a pleasant time or a pleasant subject, but it's often something that has to be done because the client hadn't thought about it, and they realised that they are on their way out and need to take some steps, and we can't stop providing that service because of coronavirus, because people need to be able to do that for their peace of mind and their family's peace of mind moving forward.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done.
Lovely.
Excellent. Yeah.
Chris, conscious of the time, but no, it's been lovely to catch up with you and super to see you. Thanks for all the help that you've been giving us and our clients. And helping them cross the line or get ever closer to the line, and keep safe, and certainly look forward to catching up in person, as you say, for the more personal side of things when we get through the lockdown.
Wonderful. Well, I think certainly after this is all over, we'll have to go out for a meal or perhaps down to the pub.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for all this.
The black horse beckons.
Oh, definitely. And thank you for all the support you've been giving to our respective clients and also to our firm over this difficult time. It's always nice that I can talk to both of you and each of your staff. Louise has been brilliant. It's not chasing me. She's been great. She's really been keeping some clients comfortable during this time who have always been very worried. And it's nice that service quality still remains despite the lockdown has taken effect. So it's lovely speaking to you, and hopefully we can do another meeting very soon.
Lovely.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot.
Lovely to see you, Chris.
Thanks.
Take care.
Okay, brilliant. Bye-bye.